Okay, let's unpack this.
Mhm.
You know that specific feeling when you walk out of a movie theater after seeing a massive
Yeah,
blockbuster?
yeah.
The lights come up, you're blinking, your heart is still kind of thumping from the bass,
Yeah.
and you have this overwhelming sense that you finally understand how the world works.
Right.
You feel like you've just been let in on a massive geopolitical puzzle piece that explains everything you've been wondering about for the last 20 years.
It's a very seductive feeling. Cinema, especially, well-made, high-octane cinema, has this unique ability to take the chaotic, messy, nonsensical events of history
Yeah.
and rearrange them into a story that feels structured, logical, and, I guess, emotionally satisfying.
Right. Gives you a villain you can hate and a hero you can cheer for, and suddenly history feels simple.
Exactly.
And right now it feels like the entire country is having that moment with Durandar. I mean, you literally cannot escape this film.
No, you can't.
I was at the grocery store, and people were talking about it online. I opened social media, it's every other post. We are talking about a film directed by Aditya Dar, starring Akshay Khanna, as this absolutely terrifying gangster Rehman Dakait, and Ranveer Singh as the undercover agent.
Mm-hmm.
It has crossed, what, 900 crore rupees globally at this point?
That's the latest figure, yes. It's not just a hit. It's a cultural phenomenon. It has firmly established itself as the cinematic event of 2025. It's shaping the conversation.
And the premise is just electric. It connects a notorious real-life gangster from Karachi Rehman Dakait to one of the most tragic events in modern Indian history, the 26/11 Mumbai attacks.
That's a huge claim.
The movie tells us, in no uncertain terms, that this guy was the logistical mastermind. He's the one who put the guns in the hands of the terrorists. It draws this incredibly clean connecting line between the dirty streets of Lyari in Karachi and the tragedy at the Taj Mahal Palace Hotel.
It creates a narrative loop that feels very, very complete. It answers the how and the who in a way that feels visceral.
But here's where it gets really interesting, and frankly, why we needed to do this deep dive today.
Yeah.
I've been reading through the stack of sources we have, and we have a lot. We've got sociological studies on Karachi, investigative reports from 2008 and 2009, actual charge sheets from the 26/11 investigation, and profiles of the real Rehman Dakait.
The raw data.
And when you actually lay the forensic reality next to the cinematic truth, the picture gets complicated.
Complicated is putting it mildly. What we are looking at today is a fascinating case study in how pop culture reshakes public memory. We are going to separate the real Rehman Dakait, who is this mastermind of global terror logistics, from the real Rehman Dakait.
And honestly, the real Rehman Dakait, the guy who called himself the Sovereign of Lyari, his actual life story is arguably more dramatic, more twisted, and more horrific than anything in the movie.
Oh, without a doubt.
I mean, we were talking about Matricide, we
Wow.
were talking about Shakespearean paternity disputes, we were talking about a Robin Hood complex that held an entire city hostage.
He is a fascinating, terrifying figure, but, and this is the key aha moment we need to get to, when it comes to the specific claim of the movie that he was the logistical architect of 26/11, the evidence tells a completely different and perhaps even more disturbing story.
So if you're ready to have your bubble burst a little bit, but in exchange, get a look at the gritty, complex, and frankly, terrifying reality of Karachi's underworld, stick with us. We are going deep into the alleyways of Lyari.
To understand the man, you have to understand the place. You cannot understand Rehman Dakait without understanding the ecosystem that produced him.
So let's start there. Because in the movie, Lyari is depicted as this generic, dusty war zone. It's got that yellow filter on it, lots of shouting, lots of guns. It looks like generic third world danger zone.
Right.
But in our sources, sociologists and historians describe it as the mother of Karachi.
Right.
That sounds surprisingly poetic for a place known for gang wars. What does that actually mean?
It is poetic, but it's rooted in historical fact.
Yeah.
You have to understand that before Karachi was a metropolis, before the skyscrapers and the stock exchange and the sprawling suburbs, there was Lyari.
Okay.
It is one of the oldest settlements in the region. Historically, it was the home of the Balak community, Sindhi nomads, and significantly, the Shidis or Makarnes.
Wait, I want to pause on that. The Shidis, I've heard the term, but in the context of Karachi's power dynamics, who are they?
This is crucial, and it's something the movie completely glosses over. The Shiites are descendants of African slaves who were brought to the subcontinent centuries ago.
Really?
Yes, they have a distinct culture, a distinct history, and for a long time they faced a specific kind of marginalization. So Lyari isn't just a poor neighborhood, it's an ethnic enclave.
I see.
It's a place that has always felt distinct and often disconnected from the ruling elite of Pakistan.
So it's physically and culturally set apart.
Precisely. Imagine Karachi as a city with two doors. Historically, they said there was the door of saltwater corridor facing the Arabian Sea. And then there was the door of Sweetwater, Mithidar facing the Lyari River. Lyari is right there at the heart of the Sweetwater.
Okay.
But over decades, as Karachi expanded and modernized, as the money flowed into new developments, Lyari remained this dense, neglected pocket.
When you say dense, paint a picture for me. Are we talking New York City dense? Mumbai dense?
We are talking about numbers that are hard to wrap your head around. In our research notes, there are figures citing densities of up to 8,000 persons per hectare in parts of Lyari.
8,000 per hectare. That's not a neighborhood. That's a human crush.
It's a maze, narrow alleyways where sunlight barely hits the ground, tangled wires, open sewage, but also incredible life. It's vibrant. But because of its proximity to the port, it naturally became a hub for labor dock workers, donkey cart drivers, manual laborers. It was the engine room of the city, but the people living there were seeing none of the wealth they were helping to move.
And I assume if you're right next to a major international port and the state isn't really watching, smuggling becomes a part of the local economy.
Geography is destiny here. If you are next to the port and you are neglected by the state, smuggling isn't just a crime, it's a trade.
Right.
Initially, in the 60s and 70s, it was relatively soft smuggling. Gold, silver, basic commodities that were taxed heavily. It was almost gentlemanly.
Yeah.
But then came the 1980s.
The Soviet-Afghan War.
The turning point for the entire region. The sources describe this as the arrival of the Kalashnikov culture. The war in Afghanistan flooded Pakistan with two things: automatic weapons and heroin.
And Lyari, being the door, was perfectly positioned to catch all of it.
It transformed the local dadas, the neighborhood tough guys who used to settle disputes with fists or maybe a knife, into warlords.
Wow.
You went from knives and sticks to AK-47s and rocket-propelled grenades almost overnight. And this is where the sociologists in our notes bring up a really important concept that I think we need to break down: the social opportunity structure.
Social opportunity structure. Yeah, that sounds like academic speak. Whenever I hear terms like that, I feel like we're distancing ourselves from the reality. What does it actually mean for a kid growing up in Lyari?
It's actually a very practical concept. Think about it from the perspective of a young man in Lyari in the 90s.
Okay.
You look at the legitimate ladder of success school, university, a corporate job. That ladder is broken. The schools in your neighborhood are ghosts. Teachers don't show up. Buildings are crumbling. You face discrimination because of your ethnicity or your address. You can't get a job.
So the legitimate door is locked.
Exactly. But then you look at the illegitimate ladder. You see the local gang leaders. They have money. They have power. They command respect. They are the ones paving the streets and settling disputes.
That's providing services.
So social opportunity structure means that crime becomes the only viable career path. It's not necessarily a moral failure of the individual. It's a rational economic choice based on the options available.
That makes sense. It's not I want to be bad. It's I want to survive, and this is the only hiring industry.
Precisely. And there's a tragic connection mentioned in the notes about sports. Lyari isn't just known for crime. It's famously known as Mini Brazil.
Yeah.
The passion for football there is intense. They produce incredible boxers and footballers.
I read that. It seems like such a stark contrast. Football and gang wars.
But they are connected. Historically, in Pakistan, government departments like the railways, the police, the banks would hire athletes.
Right.
If you were a great boxer, you got a job at the bank on the sports quota. It was a path out of poverty. But in the 90s and 2000s, those departments started downsizing. They cut the sports quotas.
So you have a generation of young men who are physically elite, aggressive, disciplined, and competitive. And suddenly they have nowhere to go.
Exactly. You have these incredible athletes, boxers, footballers, who suddenly couldn't get the government jobs. They are physically fit. They are used to teams. They are used to hierarchy.
And the gangs are hiring.
The gangs are hiring. They became the alternative employer.
That is heartbreaking. It's a waste of talent on an industrial scale.
It explains why the gangs were so effective. They were recruiting the best and strongest of the neighborhood.
So you have this powder keg. Poverty, weapons, drugs, and a surplus of unemployed young men. But gangs don't just operate in a vacuum. The sources mention the political angle, the PPP versus the MQM. And this feels like a crucial piece of the puzzle.
This is the engine of the violence. You cannot separate crime from politics in Karachi.
Yeah.
The Pakistan People's Party, the PPP, historically considered Lyari its vote bank. It's a stronghold.
Right.
But in the rest of Karachi, you had the rise of the MQM, the Mutahida Qawmi movement, which represented the Urdu-speaking Muhajir community.
And the MQM wasn't just a political party, right?
Yeah.
What I recall, they were incredibly organized.
Organized is a polite way to put it. They were militantly organized. They controlled the streets of central Karachi.
Yep.
To counter the MQM's influence, the PPP needed muscle. They needed their own hard power. They couldn't fight the MQM with speeches alone. So the Lyari gangs weren't just criminals. They became the unofficial armed wing of the political establishment.
They were state-sanctioned bad guys. Our bastards, essentially.
In a sense, yes.
Yeah.
The state created a vacuum of justice and services, and then political parties used these gangs to fill that vacuum and fight their proxy wars. And it's out of this specific toxic swamp that Rehman Dakait emerges.
Let's get to the man himself. The real Rehman Dakait.
Yeah.
Because his origin story in the notes, honestly, if you put this in a movie script based on true events, people would say it's too dark, it's too twisted.
It is incredibly dark. He was born into what you might call a criminal aristocracy.
Okay.
His father, Didal, and his uncle, Sharu, were foundational figures in the drug smuggling trade back in the 60s, so he inherits this legacy. But the defining conflict of his life wasn't with the police, it was with his family.
The paternity dispute. This blew my mind. I had to read this section twice.
It's fascinatingly bizarre. So, his legal father is Didal, but there was a rival gangster named Iqbal Babu Dakait.
Right.
Now, Babu wasn't your average thug. The sources say he actually held a master's degree in physics.
Hold on. A gangster with a master's in physics. That's a Bond villain origin story right there. What is a physicist doing running a gang in Lyari?
It goes back to that opportunity structure we talked about. Even with a master's, if you are from the wrong neighborhood or the wrong background, the doors don't open.
Wow.
So Babu took his intellect and applied it to crime. But the tension was that Babu claimed he was Rehman's biological father, not Didal.
That's a nuclear weapon to drop in a conservative family structure.
It created a massive psychological fissure for Rehman. Imagine growing up in this violent world trying to prove yourself, and the rival warlord is taunting you, claiming to be your real dad.
My God.
It questions his legitimacy, his honor, his very identity.
And this tension leads to the moment that defines him, the matricide. I want to pause here because we are approaching the moment that turns Rehman from a street tough into a monster. The notes say he killed his own mother.
Yes. In 1995, he was young, either 15 or 19 years old, the records vary, but the act is undisputed. He murdered his mother, Khadija.
What was the justification? How do you justify that to yourself, let alone your gang?
Well, the official story he spun, the PR version, was that she was a police informant. In the world of gangsters, being a snitch is a capital offense, even for family.
Right.
It makes him look cold, principled in a twisted way. I put the gang above everything.
But the sources suggest a different, much messier reality.
The likely reality, according to local unbounds and later investigations, is much more personal. It goes back to Babu Dakait, the rival physicist.
Okay.
The story goes that Rehman went to kill Babu to end the taunts, but Babu mocked him. He looked this kid in the eye and told him about an affair he had with Rehman's mother. He threw that paternity claim in his face again.
He essentially said, go ask your mother.
Exactly. And in a fit of absolute blind rage, Rehman went home. He confronted Khadija. We don't know the words, but we know the result. He strangled her.
Oh my God.
And then, and this is the part that chills me, he didn't flee, he staged it. He hung her body from the ceiling fan to make it look like a suicide.
That is horrific. It's not the cold, calculated spy hunter narrative of the movie. It's a messy, brutal crime of passion and ego.
And it signaled to everyone in Lyari that this kid was different. If he could kill his own mother, the most sacred bond in that culture, there were no lines he wouldn't cross. It established a reputation for absolute ruthlessness.
But here's the paradox, and we see this with figures like Pablo Escobar too. He wasn't just feared, he was loved. He built this Robin Hood persona. How did he pull that off? You kill your mom, but the neighborhood loves you.
He didn't just kill, he governed. That's the key difference between a thug and a don. He formed the People's Aman Committee, or PAC.
The PIC.
Ostensibly, it was a peace committee to stop the gang wars. In reality, it was a cartel. But through the pass, he provided the services the state didn't.
The welfare state of Rehman Dakait.
Exactly. He funded clinics, he paid tuition for orphans. The sources mention he ran an ambulance service that was faster and more reliable than the city's official ambulances.
Wow.
If you were sick in Lyari, you didn't call a government, you called Rehman's guys.
And that buys loyalty?
It buys more than loyalty, it buys protection. The expert analysis calls this predatory welfare. It's brilliant, but cynical.
Predatory welfare.
By helping the poor, he created human shields. When the police would come to raid his hideouts, women and children, the people he had helped, would come out and block the streets. They would protest. They were protecting their benefactor.
It's a transaction. I feed you, so you bleed for me.
Precisely. And he maintained this image carefully. The gang enforced a ban on petty crime within Lyari. You couldn't snatch a mobile phone or rob a house in his territory.
Order, disorder.
Yes. He created a safe haven for the locals while running massive heroin and extortion rackets globally. You could walk safe in Lyari at night as long as you didn't cross the Pate. It gave people a sense of security that the police couldn't provide.
But eventually the peace, or the illusion of it, cracked. We have to talk about the gang wars. Because the movie depicts this slick espionage thriller, but the reality described here is just a bloodbath. It sounds like a civil war.
It was a civil war. The main conflict was between Rehman and Arshad Papu.
Okay.
Now, Arshad Papu was the son of Haji Lalu, who was actually Rehman's mentor, so it's another generational betrayal.
And the scale of violence is staggering. The notes say an estimated 3,500 deaths between 2001 and 2009.
8,500. Just think about that number. That's not a crime wave. That's a small war. And the weaponry escalated. They weren't just using pistols. They were firing RPGs, rocket-propelled grenades in the streets of a densely populated city.
RPGs.
Lyari became a no-go area. Police wouldn't enter.
There is one incident mentioned in the sources that I think perfectly encapsulates the brutality of this world. It actually happened after Rehman died, under his successor Uzair Balak, but it's part of the same war. The football incident. When I read this, I actually had to put papers down.
Yes. This is infamous in Karachi's dark history. It happened in 2013. The gang finally captured their rival, Arshad Papu.
Okay.
They didn't just shoot him, they tortured him. They beheaded him. And then, in a display of absolute medieval savagery, they played football with his severed head in the streets.
My God. And they didn't hide it.
No, they filmed it. It was circulated on phones via Bluetooth and early social media. It wasn't just murder, it was performance art of the most grotesque kind. It was about sending a message of total domination. We don't just kill you, we desecrate you. This is the forensic reality of that world. It's gritty, it's grotesque, and it's fueled by local vendettas.
And this brings us to the crux of the episode. We have just painted a picture of a hyper-violent, locally focused, drug-running warlord involved in matricide and beheadings.
Right.
A man obsessed with local turf and local rivals. Now let's look at the movie Jurandar. The movie says, this guy, this local gangster, he is the one who armed the 2611 terrorists.
And this is where the two worlds collide and where the truth falls apart.
So let's look at the cinematic truth first. In the film, Ranveer Singh plays Hamza, this undercover agent. He infiltrates Rehman's gang.
Right.
And the big emotional pivot of the movie, the moment that makes the audience gasp, is when Hamza realizes that he unknowingly facilitated the weapon transfer. The guns he helped move ended up at the Taj Mahal Palace Hotel.
It's a great plot device. It raises the stakes personally for the hero. It connects the local grit of Lyari to the national trauma of India. It makes for fantastic cinema. It gives the hero a personal burden of guilt.
But does it hold up to the files? You've got the charge sheets there. You've looked at the reports of the Mumbai Police and the National Investigation Agency, NIA. Is there a paper trail?
I have gone through the dossiers. We are talking about thousands of pages of interrogation reports, forensic analysis, and intelligence intercepts.
Okay.
And the name Rehman Dakait appears 0 times.
0. Not even a footnote. Not even a suspected link.
Not a footnote. The 2611 attacks were not a street-level operation. They were a state-level operation. This is crucial to understand.
Right.
The weapons used, the Type 56 AK-47s, the Arjas 84 grenades, these didn't come from a smuggler's den in Lyari.
Let's break that down.
Okay.
Type 56. How is that different from what Rehman Dakait would have in his stockpile?
Great question. The Type 56 is a Chinese variant of the AK-47. The ones used in 2611 were factory standard, well-maintained, military-grade weapons.
Okay.
In Lyari, the gangs were mostly using what we call Khyber Pass copies. These are knockoffs made by local gunsmiths in the tribal areas.
I see.
They are prone to jamming, they are inconsistent.
So you're saying the forensic signature of the guns points to a skate armory, not a street gang.
Exactly. And the grenades Arches 84. These are Austrian design, but manufactured under license by the Pakistan ordnance factories. These are military munitions.
Right.
You don't buy these from a guy like Rehman Dakait in a back alley. You get these from a state-sponsored training camp.
So why does the movie, and frankly, some public discourse, link them? Is it just a confusion of names?
That is a big part of it. We have a collapse of names. The actual Laiti commander who directed the attacks from the control room in Karachi, the voice we heard on the phone intercepts telling the terrorists to kill them, was Zaki or Rehman Lakvi.
Zaki Rehman. Rehman Dakait, I see.
Exactly. You drop the Zakir, you keep the Rehman, and suddenly, in the popular imagination, you are conflating a top-tier Laiti terrorist commander with a Lyari street thug.
Wow.
But they are completely different operators. Lakvi is a strategic asset of the deep state. Rehman Dakait was a criminal liability.
It seems like the movie is trying to simplify a complex web. Instead of explaining the intricate bureaucracy of the ISI and Laiti, you just give us a villain with a face.
Precisely. A villain you can punch. You can't punch a bureaucracy. You can't punch a systematic failure of maritime security. But you can punch Akshay Khanna playing a gangster. It personalizes the evil.
Let's talk about the real handlers, just to set the record straight.
Yeah.
If it wasn't Rehman Dakait who was pulling the strings.
The holy trinity of the 2611 investigation is Zaki or Rehman Lakvi, the commander, David Coleman Headley, the scout, and Major Iqbal.
Major Iqbal, that name always comes up.
He is the key link. Major Iqbal was the ISI handler. He's the one who provided the funding, the direction, the state support.
I see.
He's a professional intelligence officer, or at least a deep cover asset, not a guy running a gambling den in Lyari. The movie actually has a character based on him, but it blurs the lines, making it seem like the gangs in the state were one seamless machine.
In reality, would they even talk to each other? Laliti and a guy like Rehman Dakait.
They might coexist in the same city, but their motivations are totally different. Laiti is ideologically driven. They are fighting a jihad. They consider themselves soldiers. Rehman Dakait was commercially driven. He was fighting for turf and money. In fact, sources suggest the Laiti looked down on these street criminals. They considered them impure.
So the Laiti snobs wouldn't hire the Lyari thugs.
Essentially, yes. For an operation like 2611, which required stealth, discipline, and months of training, you don't hire a chaotic, drug-using gang lord. You use your own radicalized, disciplined cadres.
So the movie essentially creates a fictional bridge between these two worlds to make the story work. And speaking of making the story work, we have to talk about the tech.
Oh, yes.
Because the notes on the time travel aspects of the film are hilarious.
Oh, the technological anachronisms are fantastic. The movie is set in 2008, but the characters are running around with technology that belongs in 2025.
Give me an example.
There are scenes where they are live streaming high-quality video of torture sessions to headquarters, or sending massive video files instantly over the mobile network.
In 2008, I think I had a Nokia.
You probably had a Nokia N95 or a BlackBerry. We were on GPRS or EDG networks. Do you remember trying to load a basic web page on EGE?
It took about 10 minutes to load a picture of a cat.
Exactly. If you tried to live stream video in 2008 Karachi, you would be staring at a buffering wheel for 3 days.
Loading torture, please wait.
It breaks the immersion if you know the history, but for modern audience, we expect instant video proof.
Right.
David Headley, in reality, wasn't live streaming. He was taking physical notes, using a handheld GPS device, and smuggling physical tapes. The spycraft was much more analog.
It's interesting how filmmakers do that. They upgrade the tech so the audience doesn't feel like they're watching a period piece, even though 2008 is a period piece now. It makes the threat feel more immediate.
It creates a sense of urgency that matches our modern attention spans, but it falsifies the reality of how difficult that operation actually was to plan.
So we have established that the Rehman Dakait 2611 mastermind theory is a myth. But why tell this story now? Why is Durantar striking such a chord in 2025 and 2026?
This gets into the sociology of cinema and politics. We have a great quote in the sources from sociologist Nita Kirmani. She says the film folds a Pakistani urban conflict into India's nationalist imagination.
That's a heavy sentence.
Mhm.
Folds a Pakistani urban conflict into India's nationalist imagination. Unpack that.
It means taking a local messy war in Karachi, which was about ethnicity, poverty, and local politics, and reimagining it as a chapter in the India-Pakistan conflict.
Right.
It simplifies the narrative. It says, look, even their street gangs are obsessed with destroying India.
When in reality, their street gangs were obsessed with destroying each other. They probably didn't wake up thinking about India. They woke up thinking about Arshad Papu.
Exactly. But that reality doesn't sell tickets or fit the new India narrative. The film reflects the mood of the mid-2020s. It's a muscular narrative.
Muscular is the word used in notes.
Yeah.
We see this character, the IB director, Ajay Sanyal.
Who is clearly modeled on Ajit Doval, the national security advisor.
Right. And his philosophy in the movie is storm the house. We don't just defend, we go in and take them out.
It's a fantasy of proactive justice. 2611 was a moment of helplessness for India. The state couldn't stop it, and the response was seen by many as weak. Durandar allows the audience to rewrite that emotional memory. It says, next time, or maybe even back then in the shadows, we hit back.
It's therapeutic history.
We are fixing the trauma of the past with the fiction of the present.
That's a perfect way to put it, therapeutic history.
Ah.
But it has real-world consequences. It shapes how people see the enemy.
Yeah, the notes mention a politician in Maharashtra actually using the movie character in a speech.
Yes, Deputy CM Eknath Shinde. In late 2025, he used Rehman Dakait as a slur against a political rival, accusing them of robbing Mumbai. Wow. It shows how the fictional version of the character has seeped into the real political lexicon. The movie character has become more real than the actual person. It's wild. The real has overtaken the real. Speaking of the end of the line, let's talk about how Rehman Dakait actually met his end. Because the movie gives him a very cinematic death.
Oh, the movie death is classic Hollywood or Bollywood. It's a choreographed action sequence. The spy, Hamza, and the Pakistani cop, Chaudhry Aslam, team up.
Right.
They ambush him. There's a shootout. It's a moment of justice. The Indian agent gets his revenge for 2611.
Closure. The bad guy dies, the music swells.
Closure. But the real death, it was messy, controversial, and created a massive vacuum.
That happened in 2009, right?
August 2009, Steel Town, Karachi. The official police version is a shootout. They claim they stopped a car, the gangsters fired, police fired back, Rehman and 3 others were killed.
And the unofficial version?
The family and locals claim he was picked up days earlier in Quetta, tortured, and then executed in a staged encounter.
And the man who pulled the trigger, or at least led the operation, was this SP Chaudhry Aslam.
The encounter specialist. He's another larger-than-life character, a chain-smoking, swaggering cop who didn't believe in arrests. He believed in cleaning up.
I see.
In the movie, he's a hero. In Lyari, he was seen as a hitman for the state.
And when Rehman died, the reaction in Lyari wasn't, ding dong, the witch is dead.
Far from it. It was a state of mourning. His funeral was the largest in Lyari's history, and here is a detail that just stops you in your tracks. Abdul Sattar Eddy attended the funeral.
Wait, Eddy.
Yeah.
The Abdul Sattar Eddy, the saint of Pakistan, the man who ran the country's biggest charity and is universally respected.
The same one. He attended the funeral of Rehman Dakait.
That is complex. Why?
It validates the Robin Hood complex. Eddy knew the reality of Lyari. He knew that the state had failed these people.
Right.
To the state, Rehman was a cancer. To the people of Lyari, he was the only system that worked. When he died, they didn't feel safer. They felt vulnerable. They felt their protector was gone.
And rightfully so, because what came next wasn't peace.
No. What came next was Uzair Balagh. And if Rehman was bad, Uzair was worse. The violence became more sectarian, more gruesome. Remember, the football with the head incident happened after Rehman was gone.
Wow.
His death didn't solve the problem. It just uncorked a new level of chaos.
Which brings us back to the difference between a movie and reality. A movie ends when the villain dies. The credits roll.
Yeah.
Reality just keeps bleeding.
That's the danger of these narratives. The movie suggests that by killing Rehman Dakait, you struck a blow against the 2611 machine. In reality, killing Rehman Dakait just shifted the power dynamics in a Karachi slum.
Right.
The actual architects of 2611 Lakvi, the ISI handlers, remained untouched, safe in their safe houses.
So Rehman was a symptom, not the disease.
Exactly. He was a symptom of urban rot, of ethnic marginalization, of the Kalashnikov culture. He wasn't a soldier in a global jihad against India. He was a creature of Karachi-specific, localized failures.
You know, this makes me think about how we consume information today. We are so eager for the hidden truth, the secret history. And a movie like Durandar offers a very seductive version of that.
It does.
It tells us, here's the secret link you didn't know about.
And it's much more exciting to believe in a secret link involving a charismatic gangster than to accept the boring truth.
Which is?
That 2611 happened because of bureaucratic failures. Intelligence wasn't shared, maritime security was lax, the lettity was well-funded by state actors. It's not about a gangster in a rhythmic action sequence, it's about dull, systemic failure.
Boring bureaucratic failures don't make 900 crore at the box office.
Certainly do not. No one wants to watch a movie about a memo that wasn't read.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what is the big takeaway for our listener? When they watch Durandar or the next big, based on true events thriller, what should they keep in mind?
I think the takeaway is to recognize the collapse of complexity. Films need to simplify. They need a face for evil, but real evil is often faceless or structural. By blaming Rehman Dakait for 2611, we are confusing a major Iqbal, a strategic deep state threat, with a Rehman Dakait, a local thug.
One is a chess player, the other is a pawn.
And if we focus all our anger on the pawn, we miss the hand moving the pieces.
That's a chilling thought. And I want to leave you with one more thing to chew on. We talked about how Rehman is dead, and the movie gives us that satisfaction. But the conditions that created him, the overcrowding in Lyari, the lack of jobs, the social opportunity structure where crime is the only way out, those haven't changed.
The vacuum is still there.
The Robin Hood is dead. But the poverty that created him is still there, just waiting for the next Sardar to rise. And the next time, he might be even more brutal than the last one.
History doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. And in Lyari, the rhyme scheme is tragic.
On that note, this has been an eye-opener. It's a reminder that while movies give us the truth we want, reality gives us the truth we need to understand.
Well said.
Thank you for listening to this deep dive. If you enjoyed peeling back the layers of Durandar and the Karachi underworld, let us know. There are plenty more rabbit holes to go down. Until next time, keep questioning the narrative.
Stay curious.
See you in the next deep dive.